Hey, welcome to this edition of Author Straight Talk with Sarah Gertis. My name is Chuck. She is Sarah. She's the author, the really smart one, and has written a brand new book that's just about to be released called Author Straight Talk. The whole point of this book is to help you with some of the experiences that she's had over the last 20 years. And today we want to talk about a big one, Sarah, and that is the role of editing. And let me ask it this way. Just define for me editing, because I think I have it in my mind, but I'm not sure I fully grasp it.
Okay, well, the young, naive Sarah defined editing in the beginning as proofreading. I had no concept that there was actually 4 different categories of editing. And I also had no idea that editing played such a vital role in getting a book deal and in sales. And now you're probably sitting there thinking, well, she's an idiot. And I will tell you, there was a moment the other day where I apologized to my agent, Peter Ruby, and I said, look, I'm so sorry that I was obstinate for 4 years and I did not avail myself to what is called strategic editing. It's one of the 4 types, because I didn't know what I was missing. And with my first book, Through McGraw-Hill, it was nonfiction. That was invisible to me. The 4 levels of editing that they went through, I didn't even know existed. It was only until later, till I got into the fiction world, that I was exposed to the different types of editing, how much those editing flavors cost, and then the time frames. So my world and my writing became completely different, and my sales really shot up once I embraced the notion of editing.
So did you take it personal when an editor would take your work? Is that what happened? It's like, you're destroying my child.
Okay. Yeah, my child I gave birth to an ugly baby. Okay. And well, some people say every baby is ugly, mine included. And then other people say, no, my baby's so beautiful, don't touch it. So this is going to touch on some philosophical landmines. Okay. In the nonfiction world, it's straightforward fact. You're getting a subject across, you're putting in your data points, you're justifying those data points. It's very crisp and clean. And there's not a lot of opinions. There's not a lot of arguments over how something should be represented. So I'm going to set aside nonfiction for a second. On the fiction side, you've got opinions, ideas, your persuasion, your tone of voice. You've got all these different elements on top of your plot, your pacing, your character development, your insight, your foreshadowing, the little techniques that an author uses. So what happened was I got really lucky with my nonfiction book, and I was still asked, however, to get an editor and work with an editor. And that editor told me that I needed to rearrange some chapters and I needed to put in some more subtitles. Very easy. On the fiction side, it was totally different, because a strategic editor is going to come in and say, your plot is too fast here, it's too slow here. They're going to say, your character development is uneven, or you have too many characters. They're going to tell you your pacing is off. That strategic editing is at the highest level, and it's going to cost you. It's typically going to cost you between $125 and $165 an hour.
Sarah, you mentioned there are 4 different types of editors. Can you break those down real quick?
You bet. So there is strategic editing, line editing, copy editing, and proofreading. Now, in my wonderful naivete, I thought that editing was really proofing. And it's so much more than that. If you're not getting any sales for your book, you may have the world's best idea, but your pacing may be off. Your character development may be off. Your flow of the plot may be uneven. A strategic editor is going to come in and tell you these huge overarching issues. And they're going to help improve your writing at the highest level, which is going to make or break your book. That is going to cost you. I learned that it's between $125 and $165 an hour for an editor in your genre, which is very important. You can't take a sci-fi editor and think they're going to know what they're doing in the women's contemporary fiction market. So that's a strategic editor. A line editor is going to go the next level down. So if your transitions from chapter to chapter or paragraph to paragraph is not smooth, if your line structure is uneven or choppy, they're going to go through the book again, line by line. That's going to cost you probably $50 to $75 an hour. The third type of editor is the copy editor. Now, that person is going to be a little bit more anal, and they're going to see if you've used the word blue three sentences in a row, or they're going to catch redundancies. I had this last book that I wrote, the 10th anniversary of The Overlooked Expert, and the copy editor said, Sarah, what's with the word ascertain? And I said, what do you mean ascertain? He's like, you've used it 8 times in the book. So as a reader, or a viewer, you may be thinking, well, what's the big deal? It's ascertain. It's like you're figuring it out, you're determining it, you're understanding it. And he's like, no reader wants to ascertain 8 times in a book. And so we're talking on the phone, and I literally do a search. And not only did I put ascertain in 8 times, but it was ascertaining, or I ascertained. And he's like, you just ascertained everything. So that's what a copy editor does. A copy editor is going to run you between 35 and $65 an hour. And then the very last one, the one that everybody thinks about, is proofreading. Proofreading is colons, semicolons, apostrophe, you're missing an A or a the, or you miss the period at the end of the sentence. If it's black on a page, the proofreader is supposed to catch it. So, all in, you're looking at a few $1,000s to get your book to market if you're going to self-publish. If you have a mainstream a mainstream publisher that you've signed with, they're going to provide those services.
So you're basically paying somebody anywhere from $60 to $130 an hour to say your baby's ugly.
That's right. And you know what I want to tell you, this is going to dishearten some readers, and then other ones are going to be thankful for it. But in the last, I want to say 3 to 5 years, the publishers have shifted much of the burden to their authors. And this has probably been the reason why so many mainstream published authors have said, screw it, I am creating my own imprint, because if I'm going to have to go pay for editorial services, plus I'm supposed to be on the road, plus I'm supposed to do my social media, plus I'm supposed to buy back books in order to hand them out to reviewers, and you're still keeping 75 or 85% of the money, and I'm only getting like $1.30 per book, why am I giving you 75%? Now, there's a whole lot of publishers out there who are going to be grumpy at me for saying that, but that is reality. That's why Lil Wayne created his own publishing label. That's why Usher, that's why so many of these artists in the music world, which you're very familiar with, Chuck, they create their own publishing house because they want to keep 85% of the money and not give it to the publisher, especially if they're marketing and promoting it. Well, authors are no different. In today's world, if you're going to pay for editing, marketing and sales, and distribution, you might as well keep that 85% yourself.
Yeah. And we discussed the whole topic of money and that finance and all of those good things in the very first video in this particular series. So if you haven't had a chance to see that, you can go check that out. That's video 1 in this particular series, Author Straight Talk with Sarah Gerdes. Now, next time, we're going to be talking about, you've mentioned your agent several times. Should I get an agent? What kind of an agent? How much is an agent going to cost me? And will it benefit me? And we'll go over all of that next time right here on Author Straight Talk with Sarah Gerdes.